Hello and welcome back to Basics of Basics Cameras. In this episode, we'll cover several different camera modes. So let's get started. First, let's look at the simplest mode, the full auto mode. The full auto mode is represented by a green icon or the word auto, or both in some cases. In full auto mode, your camera controls most of the settings, ranging from shutter speed, aperture, ISO, and white balance. The only thing you have to make sure you switch on is the autofocus if you want the camera to do that too. For most scenarios where you just want to take a shot, full auto will work perfectly fine. However, there are going to be cases where the camera's auto setting may not get you exactly what you want. And in those cases, you may want to consider changing to a different mode that gives you slightly more control. The next step up from full auto mode is program mode, which is usually represented by the letter P. In program mode, most things are still automated. However, you do have more control over the exposure, the shutter speed and aperture, and the ISO. So this means that if you want your picture to be brighter than what the camera determines as the correct exposure, you can do that. Or if you want a higher shutter speed, you can also do that, and the camera will compensate for the difference by changing the aperture. The reverse is also true, so if you change the aperture, the camera will automatically compensate by changing the shutter speed. The difference between program mode and a next view mode is that you cannot lock in a specific shutter speed or aperture. This means that every time you take a shot, you're very likely to get a different setting. So if you need to lock in a specific aperture or shutter speed, you're going to have to move on to the next few modes. For the next two modes, I'm actually going to clump them together because the way they function is so similar. First one is Aperture Priority mode, which is usually represented by the letter A or AV. Second is Shutter Priority mode, which is usually represented by the letter S or TV. TV actually stands for time value, if you're curious about that. Both of these priority modes lets you lock one of these settings, and that setting is in its name. So Aperture Priority mode lets you lock the aperture to a specific setting, while Shutter Priority mode lets you lock the shutter speed to a specific setting. So basically, these priority modes are just program modes with one extra feature, and that feature is the ability to lock one of these settings. But if the priority mode is still not enough control for you, then there's manual mode. Manual mode, usually represented by the letter M, is as its name states. It's fully manual and nothing is automatic. So everything is under your control. The aperture, the shutter speed, the ISO, and the white balance. This is the mode that you use if all the auto modes are failing at taking the shot that you want, or you want to be creative and use some unconventional settings, or you just simply don't trust auto mode and want absolute control. This is all great uses for manual mode. Now that you know the difference between the modes, I highly suggest you to go out there and try it out for yourself, because there's no one mode that is the best mode. Each mode has its place, and in different situation, it might call for a different mode to be used. So go out there, try it out, and that's the only way you'll learn which mode fits best for which type of shooting. If you liked the video, consider subscribing and leaving a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, leave it in the comments below. I read all of it. And that's it, and I'll be back with a new video very soon.